Too hot, too cold. I know it all sounds a little bit Goldilocks. I think I confused people a little bit in my last video. I mean, I must admit, I don't think I made myself quite clear. What I was talking about in my last video was struggling with the heat and also not looking forward to what can be a miserable winter here in Portugal, depending on where you are. And I don't mean where you are geographically, I mean the kind of property house you're staying in. I know that there are people that watch videos, read blogs, go on the internet to find out about life in Portugal from those of us that are already here experiencing it. And not everybody is lucky enough to have been able to live all over Portugal in all sorts of places, properties, apartments in cities, townhouses, new builds, old buildings, stone buildings. I've stayed in it all, from the Algarve to the north, everywhere in between. The interior does get very hot, as does other parts of Portugal, like in the south, in July and August. And everybody's different, and for some people, coping with that heat is a consideration. And for me, it's not even coping with the heat. If you've got air conditioning, you've got a pool, you've got somewhere cool to lie down and take a siesta, those are all things that can help you manage and cope with the heat. But if you haven't got any of those things, and if there's no way of getting any relief from the blazing heat all day, it can be difficult. There are pros and cons to be weighed up. I mean, for me, it all comes down to one thing and one thing only, which I'll get onto in a bit. But we need to talk about them pros and cons, because how can people weigh things up, make decisions, make adaptations, make plans if we don't? Somebody said it's not hot in Portugal. Well, what are all these people talking about then?
And for the last 2 weeks, we've seen temperatures of up to 43 degrees.
It's crazy hot, isn't it, darling?
And then I was talking about the cold. I was talking about me being miserable and cold. So when I talk about the winter weather, it's not the weather outside, it's just what the winter brings in terms of living conditions indoors. If you've got the type of housing where it is between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius, that is not a comfortable temperature to be living in, day out. I don't care what you're used to, you do you, but that is not comfortable to be sitting down at a computer or sleeping or just relaxing in your living room. 8 to 11 degrees Celsius, because 11's about the average actually. And yes, dehumidifiers, they can only do so much. In the first place, you need a decent home in the first place. It needs to be well insulated, well ventilated, it needs heating. I know of several people that have thought that Portugal has nice, mild, warm winters, and it's a place that they can come and live to help cope with their arthritis in the winter. And they have found out the hard way that it isn't. It's not to say that you have to rule it out, but you have to know that you need decent housing, otherwise you are not going to have a comfortable time in the winter suffering with arthritis. And it's not fair that we don't share this information. So again, it's about weighing up the pros and the cons, and actually the planning you might have to do. So you may have to do a renovation, you may have to do some retrospective works on a place. You may be looking at places within your budget, thinking that those houses are going to be suitable for you and thinking that they're going to be a nice place to live, not realising when you get in them in the winter that it's just not going to cut it. So that's all this is about, is weighing up the pros and the cons, working out what's suitable for you, working out what you need to do, working out what you can cope with, what you can't cope with, how you need to adapt, how you need to... You get the drift. So there is not just one answer, like just get a dehumidifier, just get a pool, just get air conditioning, just walk slower. There are lots of factors, there are lots of nuances, there are lots of things to take into consideration. It is not a competition. We are not pitting off one country against the other. Nobody's saying that one place is all perfect. We are just looking at the information, weighing up the situation to see if how things are suits how we want to live and how we want things to be, and where we can or where we are prepared to compromise. It's as simple as that. I don't know why so many people have to get their knickers in a twist over just talking about some of the challenges, some of the advantages and disadvantages. So to just give you some examples, like I said, not everybody's lucky enough to have lived and stayed all over Portugal and tried out all types of housing. So when I was living in the north, I met people that had moved from the south, from the Algarve, because it was way too hot for them, moved up to the north, and they are happy in the north. That's their happy place. I have met people in the south that used to live in the north, said it rained too much, it was too damp, it was too cold for them, and they are loving the south. That is their happy place. I know people that have moved from east to west to the coast, and from west to east, and everybody has got their little place where they're happy. So let us share those experiences so people can then decide for themselves. Give you some examples. When I was having lunch with somebody in Braga, and I just mentioned that, I really like Fundão, and they said, I was born in Fundão, grew up there, it's way too hot, I like it here in Braga. Another time, I was looking at some properties on behalf of someone in the north to send them video viewings, and twice estate agents, we just got onto the conversation about myself, and I'd mentioned that I like Fundão, and twice they both said, Fundão's way too hot. One had lived there and said no, they moved from there, it's too hot for them. Another one, I don't know if they lived there or not, but they just said it was too hot. I know many people that absolutely adore living in Fundão. And obviously the best thing to do is experience things for yourself. But people will watch videos, look at other people's lives, watch their vlogs on how they're living, and start to make some decisions and judgments about different places. You've got to start somewhere. Another example, I notice people saying, why don't you try this place? Why don't you try that place? Usually in the Algarve, where people assume it's warmer. I did a house sit for a couple that were miserable and selling up in the Algarve. Their words, not mine. We're fed up with it being boiling hot in the summer and freezing cold in the winter. Freezing cold in the winter, this is the Algarve, but that was due to the house they was living, and it was a very nice house. I'm not talking old houses. That's the other thing people keep doing. As soon as you mention being damp and cold, people automatically assume an old house. I know people that have been just as cold and miserable in modern apartments, and equally I've been comfortable in an old stone barn. Another example, the lowest temperature I know I've experienced here in Portugal is -5. Yep, it went down to -5 a couple of nights when I was in Viseu. But I was as snug as a bug, as comfy as anything, because I was in a well-designed, well-insulated, well-heated, well-ventilated house. And I've stayed in many other houses where it's been blazing hot in the summer, it's been freezing cold in the winter, and it's been comfortable. But these are houses that people have built themselves, heavily renovated themselves, or not so usual, been lucky enough to purchase one. And that's the challenge. So anyway, I don't know if I made that any clearer, but it's just, the point is, as many of you keep saying in the comments, nowhere's perfect. Anybody that thinks they are going to find the perfect place is going to be extremely disappointed, because it does not exist. But it is not all fluffy clouds and unicorns that fart candy floss. Neither is it all doom and gloom. There are pros, there are cons, there are advantages, there are disadvantages. We have just got to work our way around them and I will remain apprehensive about the upcoming winter. It's my prerogative. Anyway, whinge over. Next videos will be the looking around the off-grid properties and people's setups and how they do things and what they do. So that should be interesting for some. So maybe I'll see you there.